Sick of sitting at your job, daydreaming about the life that you would have if you'd won that big jackpot? Do you want to design a life for yourself that you don't need to take a vacation from? Do you have a vision for your life that you just don't know how to make a reality? Next Exit Your Destiny is a witty, comical, yet straightforward guide that gives you common sense, easy to follow steps to make the life you dream of, the life that you live. Get off of Unfulfilled Street, Unhappy Way, and Sunday Night Blues Boulevard and take the next exit towards your destiny today. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of Dream Building 101. I am your host, Dr. Ebony Potts, and I am the author of Next Exit Your Destiny, Taking the Road Towards the Life of Your Dreams. And it is my esteemed pleasure to be interviewing another TCNJ graduate, Dr. Nadia Din. How are you this morning?
I'm good, Dr. Ebony Potts.
All right. So I know Nadia to a certain degree, obviously, because we are a fellow alumni of the College of New Jersey. But how about you tell everyone what you do, who you are, what titles you hold, just a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a physician. So I'm a podiatrist and foot and ankle specialist. So I do a lot of foot and ankle surgery. I specialize in sports medicine, pediatrics, pretty much anything related to the foot and ankle. And I'm one of the owners of Kadin Foot and Ankle Center in South Jersey, not too far from TCNJ. And I also am now, I founded a nonprofit, Kaiser Din Foundation a few years ago, and we're very excited about that. So that's what I do in a nutshell.
Thank you. And of course, if you guys like what you see and you like what was going on here, don't forget to subscribe and hit like on this video and others in the series. Tell everyone what your foundation does and kind of how you came about founding it.
So the main point of our foundation was to give back to our community, give back to the world, really. Our tagline is, basically improving, preserving, and promoting healthcare. So anything related to healthcare is what we're about. We want to help, our local community. We also want to, do our medical missions. And the way, it really came about was we love what we do. We love, helping our patients. And we started getting involved with a few medical mission trips here and there with our other organizations. And I love to travel. So I wanted to kind of incorporate that into it as well. And my business partner at Kadin Foot and Ankle Center, she also is very like-minded. So she wanted to be a part of this too. And we kind of put our heads together and we came up with this idea. And then after a while, you're like, well, how do we do this? How do we bring in money to buy our medicines? And, most of our travel is outside of the United States as well. So, we had to coordinate that. And, we started thinking and we're like, you know what, we're really sick of all these conferences, like these medical conferences that we go to. And it's the same 5 people that are lecturing. And, we love to hear, these different lectures, but after a while it gets old. And then we came up with this idea that, we'll have our own medical conferences and the proceeds from the medical conferences will go towards these mission trips and helping people around the world. And
that's awesome.
It took off. The doctors that attend our conferences, our conference is very straight to the point. It's called New Perspectives because that's what we want to bring to the table. We want to bring, new ideas, new topics, and, things that are going to help you practice medicine. And everyone that's coming to the conference, they're conferencing with a purpose now because we're putting that right back into, buying the medicines that we need and the supplies that we need to go to these other countries. And we completed 2 medical mission trips already. So we did Madagascar and then we also did Karachi in Pakistan. And we kind of reached out to other organizations as well. And it's amazing because the more people you contact, the more you find that, hey, they do clubfoot in Madagascar too. So like you find like these common this common ground, and it just kind of takes off from there. And that's pretty much how Kaiser Din got started, and I love it. I mean, I love being a part of it.
You could tell it comes through as you talk about it, that your passion for it. And, that's great. And that's, a lot of time when you're doing what you love and, these kind of spin-off ideas, they come up and it just adds fulfillment to what you're already doing. So that's awesome. And like I said, your passion for it obviously comes through as you discuss it. So we'll definitely put the information for your foundation in our comments so that anyone that wants to contribute and help your organization along the way can do so. So that's awesome. So once we left TCNJ, what was your path, to getting to where you are and what you do at this time?
Okay, so I had a very traditional path. I know you just interviewed Jamal a couple of weeks ago, and I did one of his programs with him for like the mentoring program. And I kind of realized like how traditional my path was when I started talking to some of these students, and kind of interesting to see like, how my path kind of differs from what, a lot of these students are doing now. So after I graduated, I went to med school, and then I did my residency in New Jersey. And then from New Jersey,
did you go to UMDNJ or where did you go?
No, I went to New York College of Podiatric Medicine in the city. So from there, I went to Kessler. Kessler is a hospital in South Jersey, which is now part of it, the Inspira Healthcare. And so it went from Kessler to South Jersey Healthcare to Inspira Healthcare. And then after residency, I did do a fellowship right after residency, but it was a little bit further in after I started working, and I did my fellowship in Lugano, Switzerland. And then
cool.
it was that was an amazing experience. And it's one of those things where it's like kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I'm so fortunate to even have that on my resume. It's like it was quite an honor to be there with like so many world-renowned surgeons, and you're working with the people that invented the plates and screws that you put in your patients. So it was a great learning experience. We did grand rounds in Germany. We had surgeons from France and Germany and Switzerland, Italy, like all come together like once a week. So it was quite a different experience from what we have here. Like we do have grand rounds in our hospitals as well, but we don't bring in so many people until we have conferences. So it was definitely an eye-opening experience, and it was great because you get to learn about the culture there too.
Awesome. So I know that, as you're describing it, kind of sounds like, everything, I did this and I did that and I did this and I did that. But I know, being another adult, especially another female minority as well in this country, I know that things did not just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for you. Was not quite that concrete sequential. So what kind of hurdles or obstacles did you face? Also, especially being a female in your field, being a female minority in your field, what kind of hurdles did you face along your path, and how did you overcome those?
Yeah, so it's, I actually picked a field that's very male dominated. So surgery in general is very male dominated. So it wasn't always like checking off all the check boxes, because there were times where there are other people, there are males that are ahead of you, behind you, and, you start seeing these differences even in the hospital. And it's one of those things that's kind of like, it's unwritten. You kind of go in there thinking like, okay, I'm gonna, I graduated, I have my degree, I'm ready to take on the world. But it's not always like that. And like you said, I have like 2 strikes against me. I don't know if I should call them strikes, but they're, I'm a woman of color. You're out there, and you kind of have to not prove yourself, but in a way you do, because you're not always going to have it where, you're going to be the first one to scrub into that case, because we actually have a great example of this. Like I had a doctor who, refused to work with any resident unless, they kind of prove themselves by reading articles and things like that. But I remember asking him, I'm like, oh, can I scrub in for your case? And he was like, he honestly had never worked with a woman.
Wow.
and as a, as a resident. And he didn't even know how to address me when I was assisting.
What do you mean he didn't know how to
So
address you?
he didn't know what to call me. And like, if you see, like, if you're in a case, most of the time they'll, be like, oh, Dr. Din, pass me this, blah, blah, blah. Nope. He had, like, you could tell he had never worked with a woman. And he, at one point, he's asking me to hand him something. And he would like, princess. He called me princess in the middle of the case.
Wow.
So I looked over to the PA, who I love, Marty. And I was like, Martin, I think he's talking to you. And that's when it kind of broke the ice, and he realized, like, at that moment, that what had been done. So after the case, he came and told me that he never scrubbed in with a female doctor.
Wow. Okay. How did fear, one of the chapters in my book, how did it rear its ugly head along your path? I'm sure, going off to Switzerland and doing some of the things that you talked about, I'm sure you were excited, but I'm sure, going thousands of miles away from pretty much everything that you knew, I'm sure that fear crept up at that point, or perhaps other points during your path. So why don't you speak to us about that a bit?
Absolutely. But there's actually a really funny story about Switzerland. So obviously I'm excited. And once you can navigate like the New York City subway system, I think you can pretty much navigate yourself through any part of the world.
That's the same thing I tell my husband.
And so, I mean, I had that, but you're just getting over there. It's like, it's a challenge. And then the attending that I was going to be working for, like, I knew, like, I brushed up on my Italian. I knew how to, ask for my keys. I knew how to, do everything that, I planned for. So I get there, and I get there almost 3:00 in the morning. So I knew that I had to go to the ER, get my keys, and, get myself situated. I get to the ER, I follow all the instructions, I'm getting my keys, and I'm asking the nurse, like, about the keys. And she's like, there's no keys. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I start in the morning. I have to drop my suitcases off. I have all this luggage. And she's like, there's no key. And I'm like, no, the key's in the mailbox. And she goes to the mailbox, opens the mailbox, there's nothing there. And I had already heard horror stories about this attending, because you do not want to start off on somebody's wrong side. And I was like, oh my goodness, this man is going to hate me. So I'm like, what do I do? So I was like, well, who's the resident or the fellow on call? So they found the fellow on call, and he was like, oh, I'll just give him a call. I'm like, you can't call him. It's 3:00 in the morning. And he was already dialing away, and he gets them on the phone. And I'm like, oh, and he was like, oh, this is the new fellow. And then he realized that he forgot to put the keys in the mailbox before he left. So all in all, I get, they drive me over to some hotel at 3:00 in the morning. They try to get me a room. They get me a room. And then from there, I present myself in the morning, like 3-4 hours later. And he's like, oh, so you're the new fellow. And I'm like, yep. And meanwhile, I try to go pay for the hotel room, and they were like, it was already taken care of. So then I was trying to pay him back for it, and he was like, no. So I was like, great, this guy is really going to hate me. But it started off a little rough, but then, it kind of got better from there. And it's just like these little things, and, you start getting used to like the environment, and then once you get used to like the hospital environment, then you're in your home.
Anything else you want to add, or any questions for me?
So I do want to bring up your book a bit too. So I just finished it, and then I do love, it was interesting reading it, because I could hear you, telling the jokes, and kind of like you kept it very light, but they were very serious topics that you discussed, which was awesome. And
Thanks.
I really think you should do an audiobook.
Yeah, I know. It's coming. It's coming.
But seriously, like each topic that you discuss, it just kind of paves the way to really getting you through. And I was just like thinking back on, my own journey, like reading what you wrote. And it's like, oh, if I had this book like 20 years ago, like, where would I have started? Like, what would I have done differently? And I was very happy because a lot of the things that you talked about, I was like, yeah, eventually I kind of figured it out. Like, I did find like people that I talked to, like that mentored me, and just in general, like you'd be surprised. And sometimes it's the most like unlikely person that you encounter that kind of helps you along. And you just have to kind of put yourself out there. But you had some awesome topics, like just the way everything was kind of aligned. It broke it down to the point where it was just like a fun, easy read.
For me, I wish that I had the book 20 years ago too. Um, I was telling, a previous guest that I was kind of told to write a book. You get those inner tuggings on you that's telling you to do this and telling you to do that. And I'm like, I'll get to it, or I don't have time. And, at that time, I initially was thinking like, well, man, if I had written this book, 20 years ago when I was told to, what kind of hurdles would I have maybe gotten around or not had to go through? But in reality, when I think about it, I had to go through all of those things in order to have the information in order to put into the book. So, the journey that I went through, and, of course, the journey is not over. But the journey that I had thus far previous to the book, as well as me being an educator, and, just kind of seeing those things over and over again, just like you said, business is business. Well, dream building is dream building. It doesn't matter whether you're trying to open a business. It doesn't matter whether you are going to school, if that's your path, if you're taking a non-traditional path, you're not going to school, whatever it is that you're doing, dream building is dream building. Setting a goal and reaching that goal has the same steps no matter what field you're in. So, just really putting pen to paper on the things that I imparted in students and teachers and my children and that I experienced myself. And as far as myself now at this point, I kind of think of it as basic, but it's only basic to me because I've seen it over and over again. And I have been fortunate enough to have had mentors and people to pour into me, and everyone doesn't have those things. So to actually have something kind of like a guidebook where you can read those things and be able to follow those steps. Like I said, I wish that I had the information that I have now 20 years ago. And I'm glad to be able to put it out there to hopefully help inspire someone else to reach their goals and go after what they dream of.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thanks again so much for the interview. I appreciate it. I'm sure that you have dropped some information and gems for people that will help them along their path. And if someone watching wants to see you in action, contribute to the Nadia, I'm not calling it the Nadia Din Foundation, but it's the Kaiser Din Foundation. If they want to contribute to the foundation, also if they want to visit your medical center and your business, how do they do that? Where do they contact you?
So we actually have 3 locations. So you can either go to kadinfootandankle.com, or you can call us at 856-393-8771, and we can get you to the right place. And we take care of anything foot and ankle related. So we take care of diabetics. We take care of anything related to the foot and ankle. And then for the Kaiser Din Foundation, we actually have we have an active project right now, because obviously with COVID and with everything going on in the world, we're not going to be able to travel right now. So we are still doing a project this year, and we're helping the people of Madagascar with they're actually going through a famine on top of COVID. So we don't realize like some of these things because we have so much access to everything. Like the biggest, scare we had was the toilet paper scare. But can you imagine can you imagine not knowing like if you're going to eat? So, they're going through this on top of COVID. So the project that we had in mind was to actually build wells after we went there, because they don't have access to water. But they can't build wells if they're starving. So we're actually doing kind of like a combination where we're trying to provide the food as well as build the wells. And building a well, one well pretty much costs $250. And like it's, one of those things where they will learn how to build the wells, and they can show other villages how to do it too. So it doesn't cost us that much. I mean, we might have to stop, drinking our daily coffee at Starbucks or something, but it's one of those things where if we put aside, just a little bit, we can actually help a lot. And we're doing that right now. So you can check us out at kaiserdinfoundation.com. And we're on Facebook as well. So we kind of post a few of our snapshots from our trips and just our projects and things that come up. And we try to do local things. We try to do worldwide things. So we try to help everybody. So if you ever have an idea or anything, we love hearing from our doctors. We love hearing from like our supporters, and it's all about working together.
Awesome. We'll definitely put that information in the video comments. And again, thank you so much for speaking with us today. We appreciate you, and I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
I'm so proud of you. I was teasing probably the whole time I was reading your book, because I was just like laughing. I'm like, because I just remember your great laugh, and I don't know. I don't think I ever, never. I don't know. I don't think I ever saw you where you weren't smiling. So it was nice to get that, and I really think you should do an audiobook, because you would definitely do a great job with that.
Thank you. It's coming. But thanks again. I appreciate you, and thank you very much. And again, if you guys like the video, hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.